Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual on Firstpost, where we get you the top 50 stories from around the world. I'm Alison Lagrange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin. In our top stories, US presidential candidates are making their last-ditch efforts ahead of next week's elections. Democratic nominee Kamala Harris held her biggest rally in Washington, D.C. Over 70,000 people attended her campaign. Harris urged voters to write the next chapter of U.S. history and to reject her rival Donald Trump's chaos and vision. The Democratic presidential nominee called the former president unstable and said that he wants unchecked power. Meanwhile, Harris will be spending the election night on the 5th of November at the Howard University in Washington. The historically black college is where Harris graduated from 40 years ago in 1986. If Harris secures victory in the presidential elections, she will become the first ever woman to win the White House. Meanwhile, the Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump said that nobody loved Latino and Puerto Rican communities more than him. He made the statement during an election rally in Pennsylvania. Trump added that he has done more than any other president for Puerto Rico. This comes after his campaign faced backlash after Puerto Rico was called a floating island of garbage by a Trump loyalist during a New York City rally. Since then, Trump's campaign has tried to distance the former president from the remarks. US President Joe Biden has also been facing criticism for seemingly calling Trump's supporters garbage. He made a comment during an election campaign on Tuesday, during which he addressed the issue of Puerto Rico being referred to as garbage. Biden said the only garbage he saw floating was Trump's supporters. However, the White House later clarified he referred to Trump's rhetoric and not his supporters. And former U.S. First Lady Melania Trump defended her husband and Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. She said that her husband was not Hitler and added that comparing her husband to Hitler was a terrible thing. This after Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz took a dig at Trump. He compared Trump's Madison Square Garden rally to the famous gathering that supported Nazis in the same venue 85 years ago. And U.S. President Joe Biden declared an investment of $3 billion to upgrade ports in 27 states and territories. The grants will modernize and revamp port infrastructure in the country. $147 million is dedicated for Baltimore for its cargo handling operations. The investment comes after port workers staged a 3 in the U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast earlier this month. And the United States has condemned Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces for an attack on civilians in the state of Al Jazeera. Now, it has also urged the RSF to immediately halt the violence. The offensive has reportedly killed over 120 people. The U.S. has also reiterated their call for the RSF and the Sudanese army to end their brutal civil war. The war began in 2023 and has caused the world's largest displacement crisis. An Israeli strike on a residential block in northern Gaza killed nearly 100 people yesterday. Israeli forces said they attacked Hamas targets in the Beit Lahia region. The Israeli strike also shattered a 4-story building. The United States called the strike horrifying. Israel has been facing criticism globally after it banned the UNRWA, a United Nations aid agency for Palestinian refugees. And the United States has hailed the efforts by India and China to resolve their long-standing border dispute. Both the countries have agreed on a patrolling pact for areas in eastern Ladakh. The United States said it has also discussed the issue with India. India and China have almost completed disengagement in Depsak and Demchok area. And Israel's army chief has vowed to hit Iran very hard if it retaliates. General Herzi Halevi has said Iran has been warned against any reprisal, and he also added that the attack by the Israeli forces was not over. The IDF recently conducted strikes on Iranian military targets and its missiles production facility. It was a response to Iran's missile barrage on Israel earlier this month. And Israeli Defence Minister Yoav Gallant has launched a stern warning for Hezbollah's new chief. He said Naim Qassem, the rebel group's new chief, won't last long. He wrote on X, a quote-unquote temporary appointment, not for long. Gallant also wrote in a separate post that the countdown has begun. Ukraine has announced a fresh mobilization drive on Tuesday. Kiev is planning to draft another 160,000 more troops. This as Moscow sees the mining hub of Selizov in eastern Ukraine. Kiev's move also comes amid rising concerns of increased military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. The United States says it has confirmed the presence of North Korean troops in Russia. At least one person was killed and 9 others went missing after a hotel in Argentina collapsed. The hotel was undergoing unauthorized renovations. Rescuers believe victims are stuck under the rubble of a building. As of now, the reason for the collapse has not been ascertained. 4 people linked to the construction have been arrested. And clashes broke out between Bolivian police and supporters of former President Evo Morales. Tensions erupted in Santa Cruz region after law enforcement attempted to remove blockades set up by protesters. Police in the town of Mairana used tear gas to disperse the protesters and to clear up the roads. The protesters have been demanding the cessation of an ongoing investigation into Morales from last week. Now, he has been accused of abusing a minor during his presidency. And in climate news, for the third consecutive day, extreme rainfall hammered China's southern Hainan province, leaving vast areas flooded due to the storm Trami. Hainan is now half submerged because of the record downpour. Emergency crews were seen evacuating residents through submerged streets in Hainan's Lingshui County. Meanwhile, the iconic coastal cities like Sanya, famed for its beaches and resorts, remained waterlogged. And Taiwan braces for Typhoon Kongray. The storm is expected to hit the island's sparsely populated east coast on Thursday, bringing intense rainfall and powerful winds. Strengthened to a Category 4 hurricane, Kongray is forecast to intensify further before making landfall in Taitung, and now the storm is set to travel southward toward Taiwan. It will then move into the Taiwan Strait and head toward China. The Yamuna River in India's capital, New Delhi, is cloaked in toxic white foam from industrial pollutants. It is posing severe health risks to residents. The Yamuna provides over half of the city's water. Worsening pollution, coupled with one of the world's highest air pollution levels, has turned the river into an unhealthy waterway. Authorities are using defoamers, motorboats, and bamboo barricades to mitigate the pollution. And heavy rain swept through southeastern Spain on Tuesday, flooding roads and towns as a cold front moved across the region. As per local reports, at least 51 people have died in flash floods. Authorities advised residents in the hardest hit areas to stay home and to avoid non-essential travel. Spain's weather agency issued alerts for Valencia and for parts of Andalusia. A new report from the Lancet Countdown reveals worsening health impacts due to climate change, with people worldwide experiencing more days of dangerously high temperatures. The report warns of increased health risks from extreme weather, tree cover loss, and air pollution resulting from coal, oil, and gas burning. This report has been released ahead of the upcoming UN climate talks in Baku. And at the COP16 Biodiversity Summit in Cali, Colombia, a new coalition of 21 countries led by Colombia committed to fostering peace with nature. The nations will strive to combat the accelerating destruction of the environment. Leaders from nearly 200 nations gathered to address urgent threats to biodiversity, as deforestation, climate change, and pollution drive habitat loss worldwide. The coalition is built on principles promoting conservation, financing sustainable development, and international cooperation. And on to business and tech news now. US job vacancies tumbled in September to a level that was last seen in January of 2021. The Labor Department data showed that American employers posted about 7.4 million jobs in September. Job openings fell particularly at healthcare companies and government offices, and data also showed that the number of layoffs rose in September. And 3 U.S. governors have urged planemaker Boeing and its workers to end the strike. Governors from the U.S. states of Utah, Missouri, and Montana wrote to Boeing and its workers' unions. They said that the workers' strike has far-reaching implications for the states. The letter noted that Boeing has stopped buying from most suppliers, and this comes as Boeing's factory workers' strike enters its 7th week. Meanwhile, European planemaker Airbus is reportedly all set to deliver its first A321XLR aircraft. A single-aisle jet will be delivered to Spanish airline Iberia today, although Iberia won't start using the plane until next month. Airbus claims that the new A321XLR can carry as many as 220 passengers, while burning 30% less fuel than previous generation aircraft. However, this delivery has been delayed for about a year. And the European Union has enacted higher import tariffs on Chinese electric cars starting today. This will impose tariffs of up to 35% on Chinese EVs. And these will be in addition to the standard 10% import duties. The tariff was proposed earlier this year to counter Chinese state subsidies. The EU says Chinese automakers benefit from unfair subsidies provided by the Chinese government. American fast food giant McDonald's reported over a 3% rise in quarterly revenue. The firm earned over $6.8 billion during the July to September quarter this year. Sales in the US rose marginally, aided by McDonald's $5 value meal. McDonald's management shrugged off the impact of the E. coli outbreak on its earnings. Meanwhile, global sales dragged down the firm's earnings due to slower demand in China and West Asia. And card payments giant Visa has also reported its earnings for the July to September quarter. The firm saw its revenue rise by about 12% to around $9.5 billion. Visa customers spent on travel and dining out mostly. During the quarter, Visa's total transactions grew by 10% to reach over $61 billion. And in Brazil, the crypto market is seeing an upsurge this year. Now, Brazilians have imported a record $12.9 billion worth of crypto assets in the first 9 months of this year. This is according to data released by the country's central bank. The surge in crypto assets is largely driven by so-called stablecoins, and these virtual coins derive their value from real-world assets like the US dollar. And Google's parent firm Alphabet reported a 15% rise in revenue in the third quarter. The tech giant earned over $88 billion between July and September this year. The firm's income from online ads and cloud business grew sharply during the quarter. Alphabet's cloud business saw its revenue surge by 35%. This growth was driven by the rapid adoption of its artificial intelligence services, which are powered by cloud services. Meanwhile, American chipmaker AMD has also posted its earnings for the July to September quarter. The firm saw an 18% surge in revenue during the quarter. However, investors were disappointed with its outlook. AMD expects its revenue in the ongoing fourth quarter to be around $7.5 billion. This is lower than what most analysts were expecting. An artificial intelligence startup, OpenAI, is reportedly working with chipmakers Broadcom and TSMC. OpenAI wants to develop a new chip specifically focused on running AI models. The chip will likely be designed by Broadcom and manufactured by TSMC. OpenAI reportedly wants a chip that can run the software and respond to user requests. And moving on to sports news, and we start with cricket. India beat New Zealand by 6 wickets in the Women's ODI Series decider yesterday. With that, India won 3-match one-day international series 2-1. Now, Deepti Sharma was named player of the series for her all-round brilliance. Meanwhile, the men in blue will play against New Zealand in the latest test of their 3-match series. The match will be played in Mumbai starting the 1st of November. New Zealand have already clinched the series, having won the previous 2 test matches. And Zimbabwe will host Afghanistan for a historic Boxing Day test match. This will be followed by another test match that will start on the 1st of January 2025. A Boxing Day test begins a day after Christmas on the 26th of December, and this will be the first Boxing Day test in Zimbabwe in 28 years. And moving on to football news, Cristiano Ronaldo missed a last-minute chance to save Al Nassr from crashing out of the Kings Cup campaign. Ronaldo failed to convert a penalty in the 96th minute, as Al Nassr lost to Al Tawoun 1-0 in the round of 16 match. And the Ballon d'Or continues to keep football fans on edge. Now, a new social media footage has surfaced. It shows the 2024 Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri, singing Bella Ciao. Now, Rodri's Bella Ciao chants were directed at Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr., who lost out on the grand prize. And moving on to tennis, Russian tennis star Maria Sharapova will be inducted into the International Hall of Fame. The former women's world number 1's name will be on the elite list in August 2025. Sharapova is a 5-time Grand Slam champion and an Olympic silver medalist. She will become the 3rd person from Russia and the first Russian woman to receive the honor. And men's world number 1, Jannik Sinner, has withdrawn from the Paris Masters. Sinner retired from the tournament, citing a viral illness. Without Sinner, Spain's Carlos Alcaraz is now the top-seeded men's player. The Premier Tennis Tournament started in the French capital yesterday. And Indo-Australian men's doubles pair Rowan Bapana and Matthew Ebden secured their quarter-final spot at the Paris Masters. The duo beat a Brazilian-German pair 6-4, 7-6 in a round of 16 match. The match lasted an hour and 16 minutes. And in motorsports, Formula One's governing body, the FIA, has fined Honda and Renault-owned Alpine. The motor engine manufacturers received a fine worth $1 million. They were penalized for procedural breaches in 2023. Honda was fined $600,000, whereas Renault had to pay $400,000. Both of the companies settled the fine and accepted the agreement breach. And Brazilian F1 legend Ayrton Senna's biographical miniseries got a release date. It will be released on Netflix on the 29th of November. The series will follow Senna's life until his death during the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix. Senna's death remains a subject of controversy till this date. And in entertainment news, the world is still recovering from the sudden death of the former One Direction band singer Liam Payne. A new single featuring the late singer will release on Friday. The song is titled Do No Wrong. The track is a collaboration between Payne and singer Sam Hounds. And singer Lady Gaga has released the music video of her newly released song Disease. The video shows Gaga in different versions of herself. In the clip, she is seen attempting to regain control of her deepest fears. She stated on social media that the song is about fighting inner demons. And British band Oasis has decided to cancel nearly 50,000 tickets for their reunion tour. These tickets were sold to people by resellers. Organisers say that all the cancelled tickets will be sold again through the official seller. The Oasis band reunion tour will begin next year in July. And rapper 50 Cent revealed in an interview that he declined Donald Trump's offer to perform at his rally in New York. The rapper was offered $3 million for his performance. However, after the rapper's claim, Trump's campaign officials said that is not true. And according to reports, rapper Sean Combs had a strict weight policy for his parties for women. Women over 63 kilograms were not allowed to enter the party venue. Sometimes a weigh-in would also happen before their admission. The rapper also had a preference for long hair. Combs is currently in jail. He is awaiting trial for the charges of racketeering and sexual abuse. Señorita's singer Shawn Mendes says that he is currently in the phase of figuring out his sexuality. He said during a concert that speculations around his sexuality feels like an intrusion. The singer feels that sexuality is a beautifully complex thing and it's hard to put into boxes. And according to reports, actors Channing Tatum and Zoe Kravitz will star in the upcoming film Alpha Gang. The story is about a group of alien invaders disguised as a biker gang on Earth. This comes hours after the reports surfaced that the two actors have called off their engagement. They dated for nearly 3 years. And actor Idris Elba will lead a documentary on the UK's knife crime epidemic. The documentary will make the actor explore the reality of knife crimes and the potential solutions for solving them. He will speak to bereaved families and even to the offenders. Elba's production company will work on the 60-minute-long documentary. According to reports, Brazilian model Gisele Bündchen is expecting her third child. This will be her first child with her boyfriend, Joaquim Valente. Now, she will welcome her baby early next year, and this comes 2 years after she filed for a divorce from the NFL star Tom Brady. They have 2 children together. And the nominations for the 2024 Gotham Awards have been announced. Here are the highlights. Anora is leading the list with 4 nods, including Best Feature. This was followed by 3 nods each for Nickel Boys and I Saw the TV Glow. Others on the list are Baby Girl, A Different Man, and Challenges. The Gotham Awards will take place in December in New York City. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Fast and Factual. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election.